why write this book? I guess we'll just start there and just see where it sort of branches out from there.
Yeah, no, I wrote this book. So my book is called Let the World See You. You can see it in the back. Let the World See You, How to Be Real in a World Full of Fakes. And I started writing this book because I noticed that people love to pretend. And it wasn't just people on the outside. I noticed I was the same. I would pretend. I would try to fit in with one crowd, whether it was in the football crowd, I would try to fit in, or if you're watching this, right? I'm Black, so fit in with the Black crowd.
Yeah.
Or if I'm, fit in with I went to a school called St. Mark's, a #1 private school, college prep, nerdy school. Fit in with the nerds. I tried to always fit in and put on these different figurative masks. And it got to a point where I just wasn't me. And it wasn't that I didn't know who I was. I knew who I was, but I didn't want to show who I was out of fear that I wouldn't fit in. Yeah, I knew. I think a lot of I really do believe this. I think a lot of us, we know who we are deep down inside.
That's interesting.
We know who we are, but the thing is, do we want to show who we are?
Yeah,
that's the question that a lot of us are still trying to grapple with. And I grapple with that, and I didn't show myself from being 13 years old and hiding in a bathroom stall because I was getting made fun of by some kids, to being 30-something years old in an NFL locker room. And no, I'm not hiding in bathroom stalls, but I would still go and wouldn't show people the real me.
Yeah.
And so finally, the weight of that just became too much. And I realized that I wasn't even anywhere close to who I wanted to be, from the husband to the father to the friend to the brother to the son. It wasn't me. And I was just carrying this weight, and it was just getting so heavy. And finally, I in a lot of ways, I'll call it a breakthrough is what I'll call it. I was sitting down with a friend, and I'm just in tears. I'm like, dude, I don't know what's going on with my marriage. I don't know what's going on with me. I just don't know what's going on. And I told him, I said, maybe I need to get back to football, right? We start training camp in a week. As soon as I get back to football, then everything will be okay. I'll be fine. That's what I told him.
Yeah.
And, thank God for good friends. He looked at me and he said, Sam, if that's how you feel right now, he said, I'm concerned about what happens when football is taken away from you, either when you retire or when you can no longer play. I'm actually really concerned about you, about your marriage, your relationship with your kid. I'm really concerned. And as he's saying this, as I'm thinking about everything that had been going on, I started to cry.
Wow.
6'3", I'm 6'3", 260 pounds, in tears at a restaurant with my friend. And he looks at me, and he had never seen me cry before. He always seen the smile and the footballs and the books and all the great things.
Sure.
And I'm crying. And as I'm crying, it wasn't the one little drip, like the pretty cry. It was an ugly, one of those.
Yeah.
And he looked at me. He looked at me and he said, you know what, Sam, it's really nice to see you.
Wow.
It's really nice to see you.
Interesting.
And I look up and I kind of wipe some of the tears away, and I have this perplexed face look as I'm like, what do you mean it's nice to see you? And he said, Sam, I've known you for 7 or 8 years now, but I've never seen this side of you. He said, it's good to see and to know that you are human. And to your question of why did I write this book, he said this. He said, hey, you never know. Maybe God is writing a book in your life, and you may only be on chapter 2. And wow. I'm sitting there like, dude, do you know what I've been through? You're talking about a book and chapter 2. What are you talking about? Well, fast forward a few months later, and what seemed bad got worse, from an injury, a torn pec that year, going in my 8th year, to losing my starting spot, to being out for the season, to my wife and I, we were having our 3rd child, and she had some complications after the pregnancy. So didn't know what was going to go on with her, if she was going to make it, to all in the same kind of span, to my house flooding, to my losing a mentor, my mentor died. I mean, all of this thing, my wife's wallet got stolen, all in like a 6-month period. And I remember I had this trip. We had it was a 5-year anniversary. Me and my wife were going to go to South Korea. My friend, who was an administrator there, she had this whole thing set up for me to do a football camp in South Korea.
Oh, wow.
And to speak at the business school, George Mason University, South Korea campus. And we had it all set up, but a few weeks before, her wallet got stolen. My wife at the time wasn't a U.S. citizen, so that wallet had her
Resident
citizenship, her
card.
green
Yeah.
card, your resident, exactly.
My wife's from Spain,
So
so I've been through
bingo,
it.
bingo, there you go. And so she couldn't go.
Yeah.
So you'll get this. We actually went to the U.S. embassy, or excuse me, to the Nigerian embassy in Atlanta to get a new passport, new something.
Yeah.
And we went to go get this new passport printed a month before the trip, and all of a sudden the passport machine's broken, so they can't do it. And so literally we were praying that it would come in time. They said, "We'll mail it to you." So the day before the trip, it still hadn't come in. I asked my wife, "What do we do?"
Ooh.
She said, "Dude, you committed. You committed, so you got to go."
Damn.
I said, "But our anniversary is supposed to be a whole trip. You committed. You go. I'll be fine."
Wow.
So I go on that trip. Mind you, everything you heard had just happened. While we were at that Nigerian embassy, actually, that's when my house flooded.
Oh my
back
God.
in Chicago. So imagine, right? A few weeks after that, I get released. I just signed a 2-year contract. I was 1 year into my 2-year contract. Never been released before in my life. Ever.
So you're right? Just holy shit.
I was the starter. I was the guy just signed a multi-million-dollar contract. I'm thinking this is good, right? I have an injury. I'm doing rehab. I'm thinking, okay, year 2, I'll be fine. I get released. Oof. And so I go on this trip. And I speak at the business school. I do the football camp. I get back to the hotel, and my friend who had set all this up said, "Hey, I know your wife's not here, but there's a dinner set up. There's all this stuff if you want to do it by yourself. If you want to come, your call." I said, "I'm just gonna rest." I'm just gonna go to sleep. It's been a long day, and I'm just gonna rest. So I just go to sleep, and God woke me up in the middle of the night, and He woke me up, and literally hotel pen, Intercontinental, the hotel notepad, right? He woke me, and I just started writing.
Wow.
I started writing.
Wow.
And I wasn't writing like a note to myself. I was writing about love and about fear from my heart, right? About pain, about shame, about death, about anxiety, writing about all these different things. And I started posting some of the stuff that I would write on social media, and I started seeing some really strong feedback. And so I come back from that trip, I pick up the phone, I call up my friend who was with me at that dinner, and I say, "Hey, dude, remember that book you were talking about? The book you said I was on chapter 2? He said, "Yeah, I remembered it." He nodded his head. I said, "I think I'm on chapter 12 right now. So I don't know if you know somebody, but I'm ready to start writing."
Wow.
And so he put me in touch with a guy by the name of Alex, this book agent at this agency called the Bindery, and the rest is history.